Well, hey friends, welcome to today's Daily Cup of Encouragement. We've stopped asking why and started asking what for. I don't know how many times I've told this story over the last 15 plus years, but that number's high. I think it was the summer of 2004. Our church was part of a group that was on a mission trip to Saltillo, Mexico. It was a special trip for our family, the only one that all four of us went on together. Our group was working in a church that week, helping with vacation Bible school in the mornings, some painting, and community outreach in the evenings. The pastor's wife was absolutely amazing and inspiring. Each morning, she taught Bible stories to boys and girls and then helped prepare our lunch. Each afternoon, she and her husband drove to Monterey and back, about 100 miles round trip, for her to undergo chemotherapy treatments for cancer. She rested in the evenings and didn't join us for the community outreach, but she was ready to go the next morning, every day. On the last day, the pastor and I took a walk to buy some tortillas. We talked about the challenges of his wife's illness and the reality that so many pastors and their families face that few people consider it important to minister to the ministers. As we walked and talked, he made a profound statement, that profound statement that I quoted at the beginning of this video. Instead of why, they were asking what for. Now, in my red neck of the woods, those mean the same things, like, what'd you do that for? Well, what he meant was that it was more important to consider how God is going to use this in our lives tomorrow than try to figure out why it happened today. In 1993, Scott Wesley Brown wrote a song entitled, "When Answers Aren't Enough." The second stanza says, instead of asking why did it happen, think of where it can lead you from here. And as your pain is slowly easing, you can find a greater reason to live your life triumphant through the tears. I woke up with that song on my mind this morning. I hadn't thought about it in years, but it was probably somehow sparked by the book I started reading in bed last night. My friend Beverly Ross has just released a book she co-wrote with her son describing their experience through the valley of grief when Beverly's daughter Jenny died suddenly in 2010. Scarred Hope, a mother and son learn to carry grief and live with joy, can be found on Amazon, and I'll put a link to that in the description on this video. I haven't read enough of the book yet to share any lessons, but I can share this from my own experiences and observations of grief. What for is not about discovering reasons. We may never get that. It's about leaning in to dependence on God for purposeful living. It's about being carried by God. Scott Wesley Brown wrote a song about that too. Until you're able to carry your grief and live with joy in a way that demonstrates that God is real in your life. Titus 2:8 says, your message is to be sound beyond reproach so that any opponent will be ashamed because he doesn't have anything bad to say about us. The message of our lives speaks much more powerfully than our words. How we live shows how we trust God's amazing grace. By the way, Pastor Eduardo Magana Vasquez died on September 2nd from COVID. Please join me in praying for his wife, yes, she's a cancer survivor, and their 3 grown children as they lean into God for their next what for. Be amazing today, my friend.